Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new season and a special episode of Shaah with the European Union, a YouTube vlog in which we interview senior EU staff as well as EU implementing partners in Somalia. My name is Hassan Gedi Santur, and I'm joined by my co-host, Carlson Abdi. Say hi, Carlson.
Hi.
Okay. We are devoting today's episode to marking Europe Day, a day celebrated across Europe and EU delegations around the world. We are thrilled to have with us the European Union Ambassador to Somalia, Nicolas Barlanga Martinez. He joins us from Mogadishu. Ambassador Barlanga, welcome to Shaah with the European Union.
Thank you. Good morning, Hassan and Carlson.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Carlson, you.
Good morning, Ambassador. Firstly, Happy Europe Day. And secondly, as a European, what does European Day mean to you?
Well, sometimes you don't see very often people waving European flags in football stadiums or in athletic competitions, but you see people going to the streets whenever when there are an attack to the freedom, to any fundamental values, people used to take the European flag. This is the main symbol of what we are celebrating these days. At some moment, the European leaders decided to end war among ourselves and destroy borders among ourselves and build a common future based on joint values. And this is what we try to renew every day, including also constructing, building gradually a European foreign policy with Somalia, a relationship and partnership with Somalia, in which we defend the same values that we apply to us. We try also to share them with our friends from Somalia.
Thank you. Thank you. And I remember we had a panel discussion last year to mark Europe Day. We had just started the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the EU activities around COVID-19 mitigation in Somalia, specifically with the European Union partners and organizations such as the WHO Somalia?
Well, first of all, I think we need all to recognize that COVID hit us by surprise. Took us by surprise. We were not expecting such a big change in our lives and as a big influence in our work here in Somalia. So first of all, we try to adapt to this new reality by joining efforts with others, and you mentioned WHO was critical. That helped us to, for example, do more advocacy with the authorities for them to recognize the magnitude of the crisis. For example, to deliver equipment and to deliver drugs assistance to different parts of the country, and also to focus our actions, to do some kind of distribution of labor among ourselves. And in this sense, the European Union decided to focus mostly on Mogadishu. But also, COVID, in some way, we remain in Mogadishu, we remain in Somalia during the COVID crisis. It was also, I think, important to show solidarity and to show some kind of aligning effort with the effort that the society and the authorities were doing. At that moment, you may remember as well, we increased our communication activity. Very important at the beginning, also in a country like Somalia, to try to sensitize the population about the pandemic. So it is now good to see, to look back to what we have done for the last year. And I think we shouldn't be satisfied. I think we could have been more effective, but I think we did everything we could, and definitely we put all of our energies in that direction. Hopefully, after the dramatic second wave that we experienced just a month ago, we see again sunlight in the dark. So now the issue is how to increase the assistance, how to increase the vaccination among the population. The European Union is part of this big international effort called COVAX, and we have already provided some hundreds of thousands of vaccines, and we hope that will continue till the end of this year, helping to make COVID a past experience and not a present experience as it is still now.
Thank you, Ambassador. But I just want to follow up before I go to my next question. I want to follow up on this pandemic EU response. One of the things that I've really been very heartened by is the sense of collaboration that I witnessed, not just by the EU and WHO Somalia, but other local NGOs as well. So I was wondering if you can speak a little bit about the importance of partnership, to how the EU does work in Somalia, not just on this particular crisis, but other crises as well.
Well, you see, in our genetics, the European Union has enshrined in the European Union genetics the coordination, the dialogue, the multilateralism. It means to put efforts together. So that also applies at local level. I have to say that during this crisis, probably the factor that have influenced the most is the fact that some agencies and implementing partners, they didn't remain in Somalia. They started teleworking from outside Somalia and not having the touch of being with the people, with the local population, also created an additional problem. I have to say as well that, in my opinion, we saw very courageous people at local level. We saw courageous people at the Benadir administration level. We saw courageous people, health workers, working in remote communities also, already doing an heroic work, and now they added also the COVID fight to this. So you are totally right. When a crisis like this one emerges, the only answer is that we need to work together. We need to avoid the fragmentation of our efforts and really trying to get the maximum of what we can, knowing that the situation was very difficult, and we cannot forget also which is the situation of Somalia in terms of access to some urban or rural areas, internal movements of equipment, and also other problems that are not facilitated, that were not facilitating also the response to COVID.
Absolutely. And the European Union has also been very engaged in improving the private sector economy of Somalia, especially in terms of improving the regulatory framework that will hopefully boost the formal economy and the job market. Can you talk a little bit about some of the projects and efforts that the European Union has been engaged with when it comes to the private economy, also the economic sector in Somalia?
Well, the first thing I would like to say about the private sector in Somalia is to praise its courage. We have seen those of us, for example, in my case, it is my third tour of duty in Somalia. I have seen how even throughout the crisis, the private sector has continued working, finding windows of opportunity to develop its activities, ensuring some kind of service provision to the citizens. I'm talking, for example, about telecommunications or education or health. I mean, the private sector has been absolutely essential during this crisis period. So, first of all, my admiration to the private sector. So now that we are entering in a more stable period, even in now we are passing some kind of bumpy time, the private sector needs to start thinking beyond what they have been doing so far, and thinking, for example, how to connect better to the outside world. And this is very important, for example, when we do talk about banking systems or others, how to also insert Somalia into the international community. They have also to be a factor of stability by destroying internal borders that exist in Somalia, and also try to avoid that all sounds that are trying to build these borders are contested by the impetus of the civil society or the people that just want to survive and get a better life and not to build new borders. So we hope that we hope to help the private sector in this sense. How? Well, by helping them to organize better, to have better access to credit, by for example, thinking or putting more effort about small and medium enterprises. You know that in small and medium enterprises, the role of the women, for example, is essential, and not only the role of the women, the assistance that these activities may help to provide a better life to families and to communities. So definitely, private sector will be more and more important in our activities in the future. Having said that, we need stability, we need peace. And this stability and peace, this is what we are working very hard these days to get it again as we had it for the last years. And we need again 3 or 4 more years of this stability to continue increasing the progress.
Absolutely. And I hate to jump around so much and ask you so many different things, but I have so much to ask you. So I'm going to move to another area now. As you know, a few days ago, the world marked World Press Freedom Day. According to international press freedom organizations such as the Committee to Protect Journalists and Reporters Without Borders, Somalia remains one of the most dangerous countries for journalists to work in. What can and should the European Union do to advocate, to better advocate for the safety and security of Somali reporters?
Well, we are already doing what I'm going to say to tell you. I mean, we need to, in our political dialogue with the authorities, at all levels, at federal level, but also at federal member state level, we need to advocate and to defend that you cannot build a prosperous society if you don't have witness, if you don't have eyes to report about this society. And in fact, this situation of Somalia in terms of freedom of media reflects, in my opinion, reflects the fragmentation of power in Somalia, reflects this idea that how the rule of law is still weak, or how the justice system is not working properly. This tendency to, if you criticize me, I put you in jail. We need to eradicate that. And the only thing, we cannot do that. It is not the international community, it is our leaders, our structure of power who should do that. And this is only, again, working gradually, sensitizing, helping journalists to continue developing their jobs, using our capacity of talks with the authority to convince them that this is not the way. But also working in the other issue, the issue of rule of law and the issue of the justice. But also I would like to say that another thing that may help a lot is also journalists themselves reinforcing their capacities, being more and more professional, avoid rumors and impose facts. And you know that the Somali society is a society highly connected, and we know the importance of social media these days. And I am part also of the social media. I use social media also to advocate in favor of the values that the European Union is defending in Somalia. And I see also comments that are not in favor of peace and stability, but are more of confrontation and division. So journalists themselves also should work in that direction and be a clear reference for the citizens in terms of access to information.
Thank you. Carlson, you're muted.
Sorry. Thanks. Let's turn to politics a bit for a minute. We all know there has been some tension in the last few months, to say the least. But in recent days, some progress has been made. There is now a framework in place to hold elections. What message would you like to send to Somali people on this issue?
Well, I think I was mentioning social media before, and I have tried to send very short but very well-directed messages during this crisis. When your institutions are weak, and whether we like it or not, the Somali institution continues to be weak, the only way forward is consensus, is agreement, is people sitting around a table, leaders sitting around the table, and reaching this common understanding that creates problems. And this is the main message I have been passing. I've been passing also another message related to not the use of violence, to avoid this escalation of deployment of forces, militias, or fragmentation of the army. The situation of Mogadishu these days is some sector of the town controlled by different forces, not by the government itself. So these are the two messages, and I think that what I have seen is a society which is more mature than it was before. A society that is able to raise its voice, asking the leaders to agree and to find ways forward. So this is what I will think. I will pass. The leaders should agree. The only way forward is agreement, is negotiation, is dialogue. We should avoid the militarization of politics and the reality, and also finally the civil society has a voice. These young people, these women, these intellectuals, these young elders, they have to raise their voice in favor of this dialogue and negotiation.
Excellent. And just to follow up on that, during your tenure as the head of the EU delegation, you've been a huge champion of women and youth in Somalia. Why have issues facing women and youth been have been important to you personally?
Well, I mean, you see, during my time in Somalia, I have celebrated my 30th anniversary of working in Africa, in this continent. So I have seen, I think, a lot of reality going on, and out of these realities, I think I can extract two main conclusions. One is when women is on the lead, when a woman is on the lead, I see stability, I see some kind of interest for for general value. I see the role that women plays at community level. The courage that some women are carrying out to get that reconnaissance and to get the role in the society. So the role that I was mentioning before in the economy, at the small and medium enterprises, the role that they play also to give some stability to families. So for me, women is a factor of stability and a factor of progress, and you cannot build a society. If you want to build a modern society, you need to get all the forces. It is unacceptable only to base on 50% of the society. The other 50% are women, and I'm very happy to see courageous women defending their role in the society and getting this space that in fact is not only for them, it's also for the population of the society. And youth, you see, we see more and more, not only in Somalia, not only in Africa, also in Europe, we see a gap between the political elite composed normally of old people and the young population. Here in Somalia, it is more accentuated because you have 70% of the population under 30 years old. So we need to fill this gap, and this gap will come only when the younger generation will get their place in the management of their country, in the management of Somalia or in the management of other countries. So that's why I think, as a factor of progress, as a factor of future, we need to invest in the young, in the youth, and this is why the European Union puts so much effort on that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ambassador. And just as you know, we're just about to finish Ramadan, which is the holy month, of course, and Somalis are, like a lot of Muslims, looking forward to, celebrating the Eid. Is there any message that you would like to send to Somalis in these last days of Ramadan?
Well, I mean, I know the importance of Ramadan and Eid, and I think that now that it is the final effort till the end of Ramadan, that could be also time to not only to pray but also to think about to think long term, not to be captured or be trapped by short-term political gains. Also thinking about which kind of society the people want to build. And in this sense, I think it is very timely, probably, that Ramadan is happening at the same time as this political crisis. So I hope that out of Ramadan, when the leaders in Somalia will meet again, they will meet with a new spirit, a spirit of consensus, a spirit of agreement, and a spirit of the general interest. So this will be probably my best wish for the Eid and for the end of Ramadan.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for those wise words. And I just wanted to wish you and everyone at the European Union delegation in Mogadishu a happy Europe Day.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you've been watching a special episode of Shaah with the European Union, which is devoted to marking and celebrating Europe Day. We've been speaking with the European Ambassador to Somalia, Nicolas Barlanga Martinez. He was in Mogadishu, and we just wanted to wish everyone a happy Europe Day. And happy Europe Day.
Happy Europe Day.
Cheers.